Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Demons Within Us, a mental health Q&A, where I, your host, Knock Knock Neo, go over mental health and mental health related questions in hopes of, helping people help themselves. I'm hoping that these videos help serve as a self-help tool for people who find that maybe counseling isn't for them, maybe reading books isn't enough, maybe where you are living, the services that the government, your country is providing you is not really helpful either. So I'm hoping that this somehow, helps people. That's really my goal. So before I jump right into the questions, I just want to say that I not want to say that, but I want to say thank you to my additional 3 subscribers. I said thank you to my first 3 subscribers individually, but I'm sorry to my next 3 subscribers because I didn't get the notifications letting me know that you subscribed. But if you're listening and you subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing. It means a lot to me that this channel is being supported and people are listening. It means more that people are listening because maybe they'll tell other people that, someone out there is trying to help. So thank you very much, and it really means a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's get to it. How do I stop negative self-talk? So I hate myself more than anything in the world. I hate myself so much that it physically hurts, gets in the way of my sleep, and makes it almost impossible to get up in the morning, or in my case, night. I'm constantly catching myself saying things like, I hate myself, I'm a piece of shit, and I should die, among other self loathing rhetoric. I've been saying these things, which I used to be able to keep inside my head, out loud to myself for the past year, like a verbal tick. It's like the more I try to think positive, the more my depression fights back in any and every way. How can I stop it? This is a really, really, really good question because everybody suffers from this. Everybody who's ever had mental health issues, ranging from mental health issues to a really bad day at school or at work, like you failed a presentation or you failed a test or something like that, and you start going in on yourself. This is totally a good thing to talk about because we all need help in trying to get rid of these things, that these demons that tell us these things, that what does she say to herself, or he or she say to herself? I hate myself, I'm a piece of shit, and I should die. No, that is your demon of depression. That is not really you who is talking. Okay? So, where do I start? Okay, you hate yourself so much that it physically hurts. I get that. I suffer from depression heavy, like I suffered from recurrent depression starting from pretty much my whole life. It hit hard a certain time, and it hit hard recently about, we're coming up to July, so about 7 months ago. So I get how depression, it physically hurts you. It exhausts you. Sometimes your head wants to explode because all of the thoughts that are in your head. But with you, it sounds like you're you're basically you're overloaded, and that's why now you're talking out loud to yourself because there's only so much that you can hold before it starts spilling over. So that's where that comes from. Okay, so basic main question, how do I stop it? Okay, so mental health being as subjective as it is, it's different people are going to tell you different things. I'm going to go into detail about how I did it, but I know there are people out there who journal. There are people out there who um, who what was I going to say, who journal, who meditate. Meditation helps, repeating positive things while you meditate. What else? What else do people do? Maybe they did something, or maybe they do something artistic. That sometimes I've heard that helps calms the nerves or helps quiet the mind. Doing puzzles, things like that. It really help. It really depends on the person, and I guess it really depends on the root of the depression as well. And that's how I figured out how to stop my own negative self-talk. Is for me, I had to do the inner work and really find the source of my depression and literally extract it from my, maybe not literally extract it, but extract it from my consciousness, right? So with me, I learned that being in an abusive and highly critical home was what did it for me in my that's what started my whole depression, my recurrent depression. So it started when I was a very young kid, basically living in a really hateful environment, and the voices that told me, things like, I hate myself, you're so stupid, why did you do that, you're such an idiot, you're no good, you're not gonna do anything, you're worthless, all this kind of stuff. When I realized that, or when I learned rather, that those were the words of my parents, that's when I was really able to get a handle on my depression and the negative self-talk, right? So how was I able to get a handle on it? So every time something negative came to my head, saying, "Oh, you're so stupid. Why did you do that?" Or why did you just say you? I had to calm down. I had to literally stop myself and say, "Why am I being so hard on myself? Why am I hating on myself so much?" And then you start to do the inner work. So I'm assuming everybody has like an inner voice. I'm gonna call it the your conscience, or your inner self. I'm assuming everybody has that. So get into a dialogue with your inner self. That's for me how I did the inner work, and start asking yourself your inner self questions such as, why am I being so hard on myself? Why am I so mad? Why do I feel this way? Why am I thinking these things? Right? And you'll get your answer. So the source of depression could be many things. Like I said, for me, it was growing up, having highly critical and mentally and verbally abusive parents. What that will do with you is, okay, so when you're a kid, obviously you depend on your parents growing up. Your parents provide for you the very foundation on which you create the world that you live in, right? So when your parents start telling you that you're a stupid kid from, let's say, from day one, because you love and depend on them, you're going to take what they have to say to you, and you're going to believe it to be true. Those are your parents. Of course you're going to believe them. Why would you not? Especially if they're going to start hammering it at you when you're right out the womb. You know what I mean? So you're going to start believing those things, like, oh, you're so stupid. You're never going to make it to school. You're never going to graduate. You're never going to get a good job, and or you're never going to get a partner. Or you're never going to get married. Things like that. Those things eventually become a part of you because you grew up hearing those things, and then you internalize them, right? So for me, when I realized those criticisms were really internalized voices from my parents, that's when I got a handle and said, okay, knock knock, that's not you, that's dad, or that's not you, that's mom, right? So for this person, I'm not sure where this came from. Are you in school? No, okay, I don't know how old you are, but for you, it could be from your parents. Maybe you got with an abusive partner who verbally abused you, right? And you internalized their voices. They're telling you, oh, you're only good for one thing. You're only good in the sack, or you're only good to pay the bills, or you're only good for whatever, right? Let's say you did something really crappy, and you can't forgive yourself, right? That's something, and forgiving yourself will help with the process of stopping the negative self-talk. Let's say you were a victim of an assault. One thing you can do is file a police report. Acknowledge your inner self. Acknowledge the damage that was done. That was another thing that was a source of my depression, as well as I learned later on in life. I suffered an assault when I was 17, and instead of dealing with it, I buried it. I buried it so deep I never had to deal with. I didn't want to deal with it again, and it came up. I started having flashbacks, and not not blowing the whistle on my attacker is what killed my inner self, right? Because basically you're telling your inner basically what happened to me was, I was assaulted and I buried it. I never acknowledged my inner self. And because I never acknowledged my inner self, I treated myself poorly, right? So I caused my own depression as well as my parents, right? I can say a little bit more about that, but I'm not going to go into that too much. But that's basically what happened with me. So maybe you are the cause of your own depression. Maybe you suppressed yourself somehow. Maybe there's something that you really wanted to do and you talked yourself out of it. And now your inner self is just screaming because it's not being acknowledged, right? I believe last week or some time ago, I went through a couple of questions called Too Broken to Date, where the gentleman, he felt like he was a broken toy and he wanted to talk to a girl, but he convinces his but he also said he craves social interaction, which we all do, being social creatures. So because of his, I believe he has depression and maybe other things as well, I'm not quite sure, but because of his mental health issues, he convinced himself that the person that he was attracted to and wanted to ask out was better off without him, right? I've done that. I've been there. This person, I'm no good. This person is better off without me. And you basically tell yourself these things enough to convince yourself that you are not worth it, that this person is going to reject you anyways. So maybe that's why there are so many different avenues to help with negative self-talk, is because depression and negative self-talk, it comes from so many different things. So denying yourself, such as that person, such as myself, that what I did to myself, that caused depression. The highly critical parents causes depression. The assault and not acknowledging your inner self causes depression. You did something crappy to other people, and you need to forgive yourself. That causes the depression, and then all of those things, and the negative self-talk comes with the depression. So when you find yourself, going crazy, going stir crazy in your room, on the bus, in the car, or just randomly anywhere, saying things like, I hate myself, I'm stupid, I should die, blah, 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 stop yourself. Stop yourself and ask yourself, why am I hating on myself so much? Why am I being so hard on myself? Why am I feeling this way? Right? And start to do the inner work. That's what really worked for me. The positive affirmations, it for that helped. The meditation and the positive affirmation helped when I was trying to explore my depression. So what I did to explore my depression was, when I realized that I was in it, you close your eyes and you ask yourself. For me, I literally asked myself, why do I feel this way? Right? And you would say, because you're a piece of shit. Okay, so why do I believe that I'm a piece of shit? Because mom and dad told you so. And then sometimes it is just that easy to realize mom and dad told you so. Okay? And then when I realized those were the voices of my mom and dad and not really my voice, then I was able, so whenever I started hating myself, or whenever I started, going hard on myself negatively, instead of those thoughts ruminating in my head and tumbling around and being repetitive, I was able to stop it and say, no, this is not what I think. This is not true. This is really what mom and dad said to me. And it got easier over time. This will be a process. It's not going to happen overnight. And the reason why it's such a process, and it's so annoying that it's a process, is because you're taking your beliefs that have an emotional root, and you're trying to combat it with logical thinking, right? So you're taking one system and you're trying to I guess rewire it with a different system, right? You're trying to convince your emotions to feel different things based on what you think, which is not really weird, because when we feel crappy, we say crappy things to ourselves, right? So those sort of work hand in hand. So the opposite should be true. When you start thinking positive things, you start feeling positive things as well, which is why the idea of smiling more, or even having better posture just makes you feel better, right? If you somehow suppressed yourself, let's say, you crave social interaction, or let's say you really wanted to take that art class, or you wanted to, play an instrument, or play a sport or whatever, and you convince yourself that you were no good, or you convince yourself that, it's not worth it or whatever, and you were denying yourself, you're suppressing yourself, you need to go out and acknowledge your inner self and what your inner self wants to do for itself, right? So if you crave social interaction, Go make friends. Shoot your shot with that girl or guy. You know, stop denying yourself. If you want to go play basketball, you want to go learn gymnastics, you want to go play an instrument or anything like that, stop telling yourself that you're going to suck. You don't know that. You've never tried it. Give it a try. Stop denying your inner self. And I can almost promise you that once you start acknowledging the needs of your inner self, the negative self-talk will start to subside and it'll get easier, right? If you think you've done some really bad things in the past, forgive yourself, right? Do the work required to ensure that what you did in the past, you will never do again in the future, right? So if you want to learn how to forgive yourself, I have another video on that. Please check it out. But quickly, I'm going to go over it. To forgive yourself, you also have to do the inner work. You have to recognize who you were at the time, why you did it, what motivated you, and when you've done all of that inner work, when you realize all of those factors and you realize the person that you were and what motivated you to do those things, then that's where the forgiveness of self into effect, because forgiving yourself allows you a platform of redemption, right? It gives you a second chance to say, you know what, I'm not that person anymore. This second chance, I've done the inner work, and the second chance that I'm giving myself will prove that, right? And one thing I do want to say about forgiveness of self. Oh, I just lost it too. It was such a good thought. I want to mention it. Okay, I'll come with it again. So yeah, so depending on the source of your depression, there will be different remedies, right? So with my depression now, I find myself I find that my mind is a lot quieter nowadays. But when I mess up or things don't go my way or whatever, and I start to go in on myself, instead of saying, "Oh, I hate myself. Why did I do that?" Da 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 da. Now I just say, "I'm upset because I did this. I'm upset with myself because that happened." Right? So instead of saying, "I hate myself," and now I say, "I'm upset with myself," because that's really what it is. It's just sort of this whole "I hate myself" is just you really being mad at yourself or hating yourself for something that went wrong, right? So, and I think that and so that's where the positive affirmations come into effect as well, right? So for example, when I realize that I'm upset with myself because I made the mistake, I tell myself, okay, you know what, you just made a mistake, it's okay, mistakes happen, it's not a big deal. Can you fix it? Yes or no? If you can, what can you do to fix it? If you can't, what can you do to ensure that that mistake won't happen again, right? That's how and that's how I sort of talk to myself now, rather than telling myself how much I hate myself and how stupid I am for whatever it is that I did wrong, or I hate my life because of things that have been done to me in my life. Okay. I think, one more thing I want to say. It's like the more I try to think positive, the more my depression fights back. So with that, you're fighting the two systems, right? You're taking your logical thinking and you're trying to chip away at your emotional thoughts, which will take some time. You know what I mean? But let that be. And another secret to your depression and having it and the negative self-talk and having it subside is to stop judging the depression, right? So when we're depressed, we hate that we're depressed. No one is out here saying, "Hey, I love being depressed." No one's doing that. Okay? We hate being depressed. We hate feeling depressed. We hate ourselves for being depressed and all that stuff, right? Stop judging your depression. There's nothing wrong with being depressed. Okay? There's nothing wrong with depression. It's just something that we go through. So you just need to let it be, right? Allow yourself to game or watch TV or, for however long that you need to. Maybe you need the medication to sort of help boost your mood. Maybe you just need a good night's sleep because, because lack of sleep will definitely exhaust us, right? So start taking care of yourself, right? Do art, do whatever it is that you got to do to make yourself feel normal again, and let that take time. Stop judging it. Stop judging your depression and just let it be. And eventually, you'll get to a state, eventually, little by little, you get to a state where you will no longer want to sit at home and watch TV all day. That's how I dealt with my depression. I sat at home and watched, comforting things that kept me, in my little comfort zone. Eventually, I'm saying to myself now, I'm really sick and tired of just watching TV all day. Eventually, when you get out of your depression, you will want to do more, right? That's just a natural progression of it. So wherever you are now in your depression, stop judging it and let it be. That was the best thing after, X amount of years. I'm not going to say how much because it's a lot of years. After X amount of years of being depressed, pretty much, well, like my whole life basically. After realizing that I judge my depression, that's when my depression really started to lift because I knew I was judging and I was being hard on myself for having depression in the first place. So don't be hard on yourself for having depression in the first place. It happens to everybody. Happened to people in the past, it's happening to people today, and it's going to happen to people in the future. Okay? And you will get through it. You will 100% get through this. All right, next question. All right, this person is venting. Okay, I hate existing. I hate existing. Honestly, I hate the fact that people in real life can perceive me and form an opinion about me. I don't want to leave my house and I don't want to go to school because I don't want my peers to judge me and know I exist, etc. It's so uncomfortable. I hate the fact that my classmates can talk about me whenever they want and I'm not able to know what they say about me. I wish I could be the only one in my whole school because I like learning but not being with other people. I wish I was extroverted, but no, I gotta be the quiet kid. Is this because of social anxiety or am I just weird? Okay. Okay, I personally don't think that this is social anxiety. I don't think, at least not yet. It's possible that you being so uncomfortable at school and not wanting your peer and being around people will eventually lead to social anxiety. That's just my personal opinion about based on what I know about social anxiety. Or are you just weird? No, you're not weird at all. Everybody goes through this. I don't know about everybody goes through this, but more people than you think will goes through this. I definitely went through this personally. Okay, so the reason why I don't think this is social anxiety. Okay, so you are in social situations, but it doesn't sound like you're anxious per se. Like you're not worried, you're not nervous, you're not paralyzed by overthinking or anything like that. You just hate the fact that your classmates can talk about you whenever they want and you're not able to know what they say about you. Okay, that is more of a control issue. Okay, now why is it a control issue? Well, the fact that you hate your that the fate the why is it a control issue? The fact that you hate that your classmates can talk about you whenever they want and you're not able to know what they say about you is basically that is basically control that's just control issues all over the place, because you can't control your classmates talking about you and you can't control what they say about you and you hate it, obviously, right? So next question, what fuels the control? What I learned for myself is what fuels the control is fear and dependence, okay, which is actually a symptom of codependence, right? What is codependence? Codependence is basically you needing external validation to validate yourself. You care more about the opinions of others than you care than about your own opinion of yourself. Maybe you have no opinions of yourself, which is why you rely on the opinions of others, right? Which makes sense. You're in school, maybe high school, maybe college, who knows? But either way, we all want to have friends. We want to be liked. We want to have social circles. You know what I mean? So wanting to be liked is, important to us, and I get that. But having your self-perception depend on external external factors is not a healthy way to do it at all, because that will fluctuate, right? prime reason right here. They're going to talk about you whenever you're not able to know what to say about. They're not going to know what they say about you. They could be saying good things. They could be saying really bad things, right? So let's say this person says something really crappy about you, and what if it's untrue? And then this rumor starts going around school. Then you're going to start hating yourself because this rumor, which is untrue about you, is people are starting to believe, right? That's why this situation sucks. And and to validate yourself is really the remedy, right? But I went a little bit off track here. So why does it okay, so why is control being fueled by fear and dependence? Basically because yeah, like I said, you care more about what other people think about you than what you think of yourself, right? That's why. And you are, and you, so your self literally depends on it, right? Your sense of self depends on what other people's perspective is about you, right? The fear, the fear is not knowing what they're going to say about you. You have no idea what they're going to say about you, right? When they're going to say it, who they're going to say it to, what kind of tone they're going to say it in, right? And that's terrifying for somebody who has a control issue, to not be able to control things that can't be controlled. Like that's like the worst thing for somebody who has control issues, right? So, um, so to remedy the fear and the dependence, like I said, is to validate yourself. I have a video on self-validation. Please check it out. So I won't have to go into this again. But learn how to validate yourself. Form healthy opinions about yourself and stick to them. Never sway, because when you stick to your own, when you evaluate, when you are able to detach yourself and evaluate yourself from a third person perspective and say, okay, you know what, uh, myself, I think I'm a pretty good artist. I don't think I'm the best artist, but I think I'm pretty good. I like my work, right? I think I'm pretty funny. I don't think I'm a comedian, but I don't know. I think I'm funny. I think I make people laugh. I make myself laugh, and a couple people, other people think I'm funny too. I think I'm intelligent because of these reasons. You know what I mean? I think I'm this. I think I'm that. Whatever you think about yourself, hold on to those opinions of yourself and keep those standards and keep that standard higher than anybody else's standard. So when somebody wants to come in and run their mouth about saying, oh, you're boring or you're stupid or whatever, you already know that those are not true, right? Because you've taken a really hard look at yourself and say, I'm funny and intelligent and I'm good and I'm artistic, right? So if anybody wants to tell me otherwise and tell me I'm boring and I'm a crappy drawer or whatever, I know they're wrong. And there's no way that that person's opinion about me is going to be more important than my own opinion of myself, right? That is real validation, right? And healthy people, healthy friendships, healthy relationships, that's what healthy looks like. You know what I mean? Validating yourself. We all want friends, but you don't want the wrong type of friends, right? You don't want the type of friends who are going to gaslight you or, be toxic narcissists and just manipulate you to get their own needs. You don't want those kind of people in your life. Believe me. Been there, done that, don't want it. Okay? I wish I was extroverted. No, don't wish you're extroverted. Nothing wrong with that, but don't wish something that you're just not. Is that all I have to say about that? Um, I think so. It's a control issue, fear independence. I covered those things. I think that is it. I also answered the question here, but this is just, something. The video is just something more for other people who don't have a Reddit account, for example, to draw from. I think that is it. If there is anything else that I have to say about this particular topic, I'm sure I'll come up with it again. This topic, because like I said, mental health is so subjective, the same thing will manifest itself in so many different ways, right? So this may not pertain to you, but it may, and you just don't know it, right? Because you're just experiencing it differently. So I think that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. I really, really hope that what I had to say helps you. I hope it helps you with your journey of getting out of getting out of your poor mental health state. Maybe you have a loved one and this helps you, helps them, right? So if that's the case, thank you. Either case, either way, thank you very much for taking the time to listen. And oh, if you want to email me, if you like the work and you want to email me because you want the perspective on your situation, you can email me at knockknockneoyt@gmail.com. If you are on Reddit, you can find me on Reddit and at the Demons Within Us, and you can DM me and you can DM me. Yeah, you can DM me and I'll get to you regarding your situation. If you like the video and you want to show some love, maybe I helped you, maybe you just like the work that I do, I also have donation information at the description box at the bottom of this screen. And I think that is it. Already, everybody. Like I said, I can't thank you enough, so say it one more time. Thank you again, and I'll catch you next time. Take care, everybody.